When you look at the cover of the first volume of Dr. Slump, you can see that it is so classy. This is the cover of Volume 1. Back then, it was printed in 2 colors. He was not allowed to print his work in full color at that time. You look at the mustache, how he is holding the cigarette between his teeth, and they all look real. And look at how detailed these buttons are. You can even see how thick they are. They look real, but at the same time, you can see that some parts are caricatured. Human mouths do not stretch that much. The drop of sweat and the shape of his eyes are both very unrealistic. So he mixes real and unreal in a single illustration. That is why these miniature Arare-chans look so natural in it. This is actually very hard to achieve. Kazuhiro Otomo was the pioneer of this type of realistic drawing. But Otomo would not think of drawing a huge drop of sweat like this. When you look more closely, you can see that the drop is so detailed with shadows and reflected light. This is so unique. No one else would do such a thing. That is why Akira Toriyama is so unique. He can combine real and unreal in a single drawing. Manga artists who were influenced by Kazuhiro Otomo draw realistically and do not think about combining other elements. But Akira Toriyama's drawings are so original. He is very good at distorting part of his drawing. So, this is episode 2, of the very first season. This is the scene when Arare goes to school, hiding the fact that she is a robot. This is her teacher. You can see that there is a real-life model for this character. This frame here is so simply drawn. The shape of the mountains, the crows cawing. But this teacher character is slightly more real. And in this frame, the heads of these 2 girls are drawn in 3D. So the drawing is quite realistic. And Arare, the central character, throws a ball. The ball travels ridiculously fast and flies far away. Her hand, throwing the ball, cannot be seen, and the lines indicating the movement of her arm are hiding part of her face. This frame is so dynamic and dimensional. We see a realistic character, a bridge, a dialogue, and then action. So there is no pause between the dialogue and the action. This is a unique rhythm which you do not see much in recent manga. In this scene, Senbei goes to the cinema to see a film. He gets excited during the film. You see a little boy sitting next to him. Senbei gets so excited that he unconsciously throws the little boy at the screen. This is a joke. He throws the little boy and screams, and the little boy hits the monster on the screen and bounces back. And Akira does all of this sequence in one frame. This is really difficult to achieve. He is exaggerating here and there. And yet, he succeeds in telling the audience what is going on in the scene. You need great skill to do this. Well, I guess not simply drawing skill, but a manga skill. He is very good at showing spatial dimension and utilizing the type of exaggeration that is unique to manga. Dr. Slump lasted a long time. I personally loved Dragon Ball when it started, because it had the same atmosphere as Dr. Slump had in its early days. When we think about Dragon Ball, we tend to think about the grown-up Goku and the intense battle scenes. So we tend to remember it as a battle manga and forget about the underlying story. But I think the most interesting part of this series is when Oolong makes his appearance. Volume 1, 2 and 3 are very interesting to read. For example, this is the cover of episode 1 and on the left is the cover of episode 2. They are printed in full color. Let us look at episode 1 first. We see Bulma and Songoku. They are on a bike. We cannot see the faces of the central characters on the cover. And it is the first volume. I have never seen anything like this. Whether it is One Piece or Hunter x Hunter, the face of the central character is always on the cover. We cannot see Bulma's face either, but we can see her eyes in the mirror. This is quite amazing. If you look at this part in close-up, you can see a transparent canopy on top of the bike. The canopy has a white frame around it, and you can see it screwed to the edge. So the canopy is surrounded by a metal frame and fastened by screws on the outside. The design is so detailed. It shows how the bike is built. He has great taste in designing the mechanics. And then when you look at the background, you can see that the mountains far away are not blurred, but the forest nearby is. This blurring of the forest looks like an illustration. He intentionally avoids the manga style. This is amazing design, and it requires high skill to draw this. The cover of episode 2 shows the faces of the characters. But she is in profile, although large in size. Can you zoom the camera? You can see here the dome shape of Bulma's right eyeball. But when Akira Toriyama worked on the collected works of Dragon Ball, later on, he did not bother to draw the domed shape of the eyeballs of Tien Shinhan. When the Dragon Ball series was over, Akira Toriyama got tired of drawing. He said, "Drawing makes me nauseous." He said he felt better after working with Mac. But he used to be such a perfectionist that he could not help drawing all the details. Although Songoku here is simply drawn. And this line that leads to her forehead is barely covering the right eyeball. It is very clever. And take a look at the cockpit. The sighting device that was used in the World War II period. And the modern radar that was used during the Vietnam War. So many devices from different periods are mixed together. This round dial next to the screen is designed like this so that the pilot can turn the dial with her rough gloves. It looks like the screw is sticking out like a mountain. It looks real, but on the other hand, the lever and control sticks look really small compared to her hands. He drew these grips on the control sticks smaller so that the cockpit looks more spacious. So Akira Toriyama is not really an airplane fan. Because if you were an airplane fan, you would draw the plane exactly as it looks in reality. The pilot is a girl, and the shirt she is wearing has no sleeves. That is why the cockpit appears cuter than it really is. And here you see a rear view mirror. I was so surprised. It is so clever. But Dragon Ball was not that popular in the beginning. People had high expectations for this new series because his previous work, Dr. Slump, was such a huge hit. But the series dropped to 15th place in the ranking. I think there were only 18 series in Shonen Jump magazine at the time, so this means it was really badly reviewed.